Welcome to the Quiet Out Loud. For this week's episode, we've got an amazing guest. But before we get into that, I know I made no mention of dancing, but that was because we were talking about MC Hammer backstage. Um, so a little too legit to quit. And speaking of being too legit to quit, our normal preamble, all the opinions, thoughts expressed on our podcast are of the individual in the moment. They are not representative of their companies, past, future, and present. And additionally, opinions are subject to change. We are grown and rational adults. So as new information becomes available, that is important. Our guest today, I will let him introduce himself. Take it away.
Hi, my name's Jason Miller, checking in with you guys from Austin, Texas. And I have a background in the talent acquisition space and have more recently moved into telling recruiters and non-technical people that there's a lot more cool stuff that we can do now than we used to be able to do, given all this new technology that's out.
Definitely. Well, and that's how you and I got introduced. You have a very well-known catchphrase of selfish software, which I'm sure we are going to get into. Ben, I'm going to let you take it from here, man.
Awesome. Jason, welcome. Glad to have you. We'll hit you with our first question. What's the quiet shh in your space?
I think the quiet shh in my space is actually becoming the quiet shh in everybody's space. And, you know, a lot of us are either deeply entrenched or tangentially attached to technology. You know, we work for tech companies, we use tech companies, these sorts of things. And for years, we've been sold this line that being the technical person in the company made you more valuable than everybody else. And I'm here to say nowadays that with the advent of a lot of AI and assistive technologies, and, you know, the gates are starting to come down. And I'm calling it the revenge of the right-brained people. Like the folks that have, you know, really developed what used to be called soft skills, but are now the empathy, the creativity, the deep understanding of spaces like how to be effective at go-to-marketing, how to be effective in the people spaces, HR spaces, talent. We can now do a lot of the tech stuff, and watch out for us.
I mean, I think that's a good point. It's when you start to have people who can articulate those soft skills elements into things that can translate them into technical elements and are deeply in tuned with who they are and how they work. That becomes really, really, really important when you're trying to get more than just one kind of particular outcome. I think one question I would have for you is, so that as the non-technical people who are now becoming more technical, we've all had to sit through that conversation where people have said, well, you got to, we have this on the roadmap. Oh, you've been deprioritized on the roadmap. And now we're able to sort of say, well, no, I'm going to do the thing that I want to do. Do you think that this also now puts some pressure onto the technical folks who maybe had walked around sort of acting and thinking like they're untouchable and they're God, and now it's sort of an assault on that immortality or invulnerability, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, that's a super interesting kind of take on it. It reminds me a lot of music. Like it used to be, if you wanted to be a professional musician, you would go and you would study at a conservatory, and you might get lucky that like somebody in the symphony would die, and then like you would be appointed, you know, third most important cello in the symphony. And like then, you know, jump forward to punk rock comes out, and it's like I could buy a used guitar, learn 3 chords in my bedroom, and like be on stage that night. Like that's really where we're at today with technology. Is the gates, like I said, the gates have come down. You know, I get a lot of people that, you know, reach out to me as sort of the AI guy in talent acquisition. And the fact of the matter is, like, I'm not good at AI and talent acquisition because I'm good at AI. I was good at talent acquisition and I learned AI. And, you know, that's where you talk about, you know, the protected class of the folks that, you know, got higher pay bands and more equity, and, you know, where the arms race for technical talent that, you know, we've seen for a number of years, still wildly valuable, But I would argue it's a heck of a lot harder to learn how to do some of the other parts of the job that we're talking right now than it is for me to learn how to use vibe coding. Is a heck of a lot easier than for you to learn how to be a subject matter expert in getting people jobs. So I think it's not an us versus them. It's like we got to come together, and everybody needs to be on an equal playing field. Because, like I say, I mean, left brain, analytical, logical, repetitive, sequence-oriented, object-oriented tasks are very, very, very easy to automate now.
You said something interesting there, Jason. They need to be equal. What does that look like?
So I led talent teams at some really cool companies. I've had the opportunity to work for really, really, really fantastic CTOs who I wildly respect. And they would, to Jeremy's point, they would always say things to me like, "Oh my God, we could build you an ATS, an applicant tracking system. We can build you that, but like, we don't really want to support it. So, go get something off the shelf." Taken to another step, I think a lot of us in the talent space have been advisors to companies. Very rarely are we the ones that actually make any money when a talent tool comes out, but they'll come in and they'll ask our opinion. And then at the end of the day, the product that comes out is still what an engineer wanted to solve. It's still solved for their pain points. It still made it so that they had to look at less candidates, or they had to interview less people, or these sorts of things. They didn't fix our pain points, right? I'm saying that you now need to take into account the user, frankly, more so than you ever have. Because if I can do things right now that are hacky, vibey replicas of enterprise software, like today, August 20th, this is the worst AI is ever going to be today, because it's going to get better tomorrow, and it's going to get better the day after that. And eventually, I'm going to be able to create enterprise grade things. So when I say equal, it's like, listen to our opinions, actually build stuff alongside of us instead of handing us things that you think we need.
I like that. And paired with the point you were making about building for the right user, right? Whatever the user-centric design is, and picking that user rather than the creator of the product. You said something that I thought was really compelling, which is we need less of things, right, in a product. When do you think the conversation will change to we need more of the human part and less of the ops part?
I mean, hopefully it's already starting to happen in a couple places, right? And, if you think about this, man, like if I go back and I cherry picked 10 people that I've helped get a job and that I knew would say working with Jason was great, right? And I asked them what working with me, why it was great, like, ain't nobody going to say it's because I have good Boolean skills, or that I know how to send a really cool templated email, or these sorts of things, right? What they're going to talk about is I was empathetic of their time, and I understood their drivers when I helped put an offer together, that I listened to them to understand what it is makes them effective at their job and properly positioned to them. Like, so when I talk, and a lot of these things, we can now build tools to do better. Like I make the joke about like the Boolean search. Like I'll guarantee you ChatGPT is better at writing Boolean search strings than I am. And I know for a fact that when you take a coordinator and you empower a coordinator to not have to sit there and scroll through 17 different, Outlook calendars, and you let them become, I think it was Zapier on this call we were just on, started to call them like candidate experience engineers. Like when you give them the tools to do the administrative stuff and let them focus on the people stuff, how do you not have a better outcome?
So it's interesting that you bring that up too, because I've been curious about this as well. So I'm going to borrow a comment that Luke Eaton had on a call that he did with Jem a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last month, where he mentioned it's like, all right, so now is everybody going to become a micro SaaS provider?
Interesting.
And beyond everybody becoming a micro SaaS provider, I think one of the more interesting things is, and you and I have had these conversations, is as things are evolving and as certain things leave and new things come in, It's that archival knowledge that's also leaving or not coming in, and people aren't being trained in the same kinds of ways. So we might naturally see some of these roles that have been keystone roles for feeding in other departments, like the RC role. It's like, well, if you put them too much on, like, maybe say candidate prep, are they now going to, is that going to sort of cut off the operational ops side of fence that many of us came up through when we were RCs, because we had to work on the systems and we had to troubleshoot everything? So I guess that's a two-part question of two very divergent things.
Yeah. So I would argue that we're not going to have linear careers anymore anyways, right? So this idea of like, I started an agency and then I was a sourcer in corporate, and then I was a recruiter, and then I was a manager, like, like, or I was a coordinator who made it to a sourcer. Like, I think you're going to see the breakdown of that. And like, I think, like, I'll tell you, I'm getting real good at go-to-market right now. I'm not a born and bred marketing guy, but I'm starting to see that, like, reaching out to a candidate to get them to say yes at company X is very, 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 very similar to biz dev, where I'm reaching out to an ICP and an ideal customer profile to get them to say yes. And now I've got tools like Clay or tools like Make where I can do the same thing. So it's like, you're going to hire people, like, you hire me now to get other people interested in something, and it might be interested in a job, it might be interested in software. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I'm pretty sure that I could take a lot of the silly stuff that we've built and like get your taco truck to do better on Instagram. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that linear, I think the linear career is going to be disrupted regardless. And what you're going to see are people using their brains to do a lot of different divergent things.
Speaking of that, Jason, you created the perfect segue there with the career pivot and the go-to-market and the new skills. What's been the quiet part about your career?
Okay. When I was doing sort of this pre-work with Jeremy, he was talking about, like, you can say how you got into recruiting. And I think it's more interesting to understand, like, why I moved into AI, and it's because of failure. Like, I took a company, I've been lucky enough to take a couple companies public. I took Roblox public as their first head of tech recruiting. Coolest dad in the neighborhood, right in the middle of the pandemic. And then from there, decided that I was going to go off and do my own thing. I co-founded an AI company in the talent space with a really cool engineer, a CTO. Kind of the wrong time. And I mean, didn't work, man. Like, and I got to the point to where, like, I'll never productize anything ever again. Like, I'll never take anything to market again. Like, I can't watch Shark Tank. Like, I don't like people telling me my baby's ugly anymore. But what it did was it gave me an opportunity to be the straight up dumbest guy in the room for 2 years with a bunch of data scientists out of IIT, and, bring them my ideas. And, I took prompt engineering courses at Vanderbilt, and then would bring them my cute prompts and have them shred me and stuff like that. And it's like, and they finally gave me Make, like, almost like the way I used to give my kids, a fake cutlery set so they could go pretend they were cooking next to me. Like, engineers gave me a no-code tool. And guess what? Like, that's the same no-code tool that I use right now. So it's it goes back to that career pivot, failure as an opportunity sort of thing. Like, I wouldn't be the AI guy in TA if I was a successful startup founder or continued head of talent. So there you go.
Well, I mean, I think that that's also kind of an interesting thing that you bring up in there, which is it's the opportunity costs of it too, where it's right place, right time, right environment for doing the exploration piece. And so I guess my question to you about kind of the quiet from that is, what do you say to people who are looking for that right place, right time, right scenario? What are like the indicators that you're looking at and sort of saying like, okay, if I was looking for the next thing, these are the questions that I would ask that would get me to there.
Bet on yourself. Like nobody knows what you can do better than you can. And I think we have a tendency of trying to go all in on shit sometimes, as opposed to understanding that like 30 minutes a day ends up being 2.5, 3 hours a week, right? Like 2.5, 3 hours a week ends up getting you into that 12, 15 hours. Like at some point, like when you steal a little bit of time away for yourself, it's like that whole thing, right? Like if I want to run a marathon and I feel lazy and I don't want to go for a run that day, it's like a half-hour run, you are faster than you were sitting on the couch. And it's just that little bit of discipline of like trying to steal a little bit of time. That, and the second thing I would say is like put stuff out before it's ready, and that, people call it build, I think build in public. Joe Atkinson says all the time. Like my thing was like, when I started talking to other talent people that were building things, I talked to so many smart people that showed me so much cool stuff that were like, I got 2 more features and I'm gonna put it out. And I'm like, bro, like what you got is fantastic. Like, and why maybe those 2 things you want, nobody else is gonna want. Like put out what you got. And so that'd be my combination is like invest in yourself, whatever bits you can, and don't wait for perfect. Get it out there.
I love that. That's such an important point. One, start, and you don't have to go from 0 to 100 the first time you try something, right? And I love the point about being brave enough to fail publicly and succeed publicly. Like we talk a lot about failing, but also succeeding publicly and iterating along the way. And I think a lot of people are paralyzed by what kind of comments or how they're going to feel from how others react to what they're doing instead of starting, right?
It's that whole thing, dude. Like all you see are people's final product and you get to see your own director's cut of your life, right? And it's like, man, I'm telling you, as a guy who ended up trying to sell something to a lot of VCs and making a lot of friends at VCs, and then being the guy that then gets brought in to have other people sell to him is like on diligence calls and stuff like that. There is so much fake it till you make it out there. Like I guarantee all 3 of us can think of a tool that we have loved the demo and like the POC worked great, and then we buy it and it don't quite work that way. It's like, because there's a lot of hamsters on wheels behind POCs and stuff like that. And, if enterprise software has been doing this to us for 30 years, 25 years, like we can do it for ourselves too. Like we can put stuff out that's raw and unfinished versus waiting for things to be perfect.
Definitely. Well, you do have a lovely presence. You do talk about these things. And I think one of the things I've always loved about the way that you talk about them, you put them out there, is you're not just sitting there going, look at how bright and shiny and perfect my life is. You talk about other ways that where you failed, where you've learned, and all of that. And I think that that's really, really an important thing. Coming up on closing this thing out, if people wanted to follow you, how should they follow you? Where should they go to consume anything that you're putting out there? If you're putting anything out there, but we've mentioned
Sure. Yeah. No, you can get 90 seconds versions of what we just did all day long on my LinkedIn. Like the same black t-shirt, the same crazy posters in the back, and me sort of just chatting about what I'm thinking about at any given moment in this space. And I'll be honest, it probably took me 2 months, 3 months longer to put that first one out than it should have. And it took folks telling me like, just go out and do it. And now I sit here wishing I would have done it sooner. So yeah, I spend some time check out LinkedIn, and then anything cool we're doing in that regard, I'm sure I'll put out there first.
Awesome. That is fantastic, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of The Quiet Out Loud. Until next time, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.